Hi everyone, today's video is part 2 of the Vaccine Preventable Diseases series, and today I'll be covering the following vaccines: Hepatitis B, Influenza, MMR, Polio, and Rotavirus. So let's get to the video. We are going to start this video off by talking about the Hepatitis B vaccine. With Hepatitis B, many individuals do not experience symptoms until many years after the infection. Eventually, the virus that causes hepatitis B results in a disease that attacks the liver and therefore causes it to become inflamed. A hepatitis B infection can possibly result in scarring of the liver, which is called cirrhosis, liver failure, liver cancer, and even death in some cases. The hepatitis B vaccine is recommended for everyone and is available for all age groups. It is typically a 3-dose series, but can be 2 doses depending on the brand that is administered. The first dose is given to a newborn within the first 24 hours after birth. The second is given 1 to 2 months after the first dose, and then the third dose is given between 6 and 18 months. Hepatitis B is spread from person to person through blood or contact with other bodily fluids, as well as through sexual contact with an infected individual. It is also possible for a newborn to become infected at birth if the mother is infected with hepatitis B. Typically, the most common way for hepatitis B to be transmitted is through contact with blood. It can also be spread through usage of items such as toothbrushes and razors, or even medical equipment such as needles or IVs. Next, we are going to talk about the influenza vaccine. Every year in the United States, millions of people contract the common influenza or flu virus. This disease can range from a mild illness to a severe illness. Many individuals may feel sick for a week or so, but others can face more serious consequences, such as hospitalization or death. The vaccine for influenza is given every year because the virus mutates or produces errors in its genetic material rapidly, therefore immunity from one year will not be effective the following year. It is recommended that all individuals over the age of 6 months receive the influenza vaccine every year. Research is conducted prior to flu season to determine which influenza viruses will most likely be abundant in that specific year. The influenza virus is very contagious and is spread through respiratory droplets. Anyone can contract this virus, even those individuals who are considered to be healthy. The best time to get vaccinated is in the fall because it takes roughly 2 weeks after vaccination for your body to produce the antibodies necessary to fight off the infection. The MMR vaccine consists of vaccines for measles, mumps, and rubella. Measles, mumps, and rubella are 3 other extremely contagious diseases that thankfully can be prevented with the vaccine. These diseases can be extremely dangerous, especially for babies and younger children. Because of the success of this vaccine, we don't typically see many cases of these 3 diseases. However, outbreaks can happen in areas of the country where there are unvaccinated populations. Now let's talk about the vaccine schedule for MMR. It is recommended that children receive 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. The first dose should be administered at 12 to 15 months, and the second dose should be administered at 4 to 6 years. The wonderful thing about this vaccine is that with the recommended 2-dose series, it is roughly 97% effective at preventing measles and 88% effective for preventing mumps. And with just 1 dose, it is 97% effective at preventing rubella. Measles is highly contagious and spreads from person to person through coughing and sneezing, and therefore is airborne. It lives in the nose and throat of the infected individual and is therefore easily spread through the air. Measles is known to be one of the most contagious diseases and even has the ability to stay in the air for up to 2 hours even after the infected individual leaves. Mumps is spread through respiratory droplets, which are produced when an individual coughs, sneezes, and talks. The droplets can originate in the mouth, nose, or throat of the infected individual. And rubella, which is also called German measles, is also spread through respiratory droplets when a person coughs or sneezes. If a pregnant woman is infected with rubella, she can spread it to her unborn child, which can put the child at a serious risk for complications and illness. Next, we are going to talk about polio, which is also known as poliomyelitis. This disease can be fatal because it has the ability to travel to an individual's central nervous system. So, a little background on this: the brain and spinal cord make up the central nervous system and play a major role in coordinating and performing everyday activities that involve moving your arms and legs. Because the poliovirus affects the central nervous system, it can result in paralysis in some cases. But like all of these other diseases, you can be protected with a vaccine. So now let's talk about the vaccine schedule for polio. It is recommended that individuals receive 4 doses of the polio vaccine, with the first dose being at 2 months, the second at 4 months, the third at 6 to 18 months, and the fourth at 4 to 6 years. In other countries, an oral polio vaccine is used, but in the United States, we use an inactivated form of the vaccine. Polio is spread through direct contact, most commonly with infected feces and less commonly with droplets. It enters the body through the mouth and typically lives in the throat and intestines of the infected person. In some cases, it can result in complications such as meningitis and paralysis. Paralysis can result in lifelong disability as well as death. The muscles that are responsible for helping you breathe can also become infected by the paralysis that is associated with polio, which is why some individuals die from this disease. The last vaccine preventable disease we will be talking about today is rotavirus. This virus poses a serious risk for infants and young children because it can lead to severe dehydration, which can ultimately result in hospitalization. But not to worry, there is a vaccine available for rotavirus. Let's talk about the schedule. The rotavirus vaccine is given orally, meaning that the drops of the vaccine are placed into the child's mouth when administered. Depending on the brand, it can either be a 2 or 3 dose series. The first dose is at 2 months, the second is at 4 months, and if you receive the brand that calls for a third dose, it would be given at 6 months. A child should have completed their rotavirus vaccination series by the time that they are 8 months old. Although proper hygiene is important in order to reduce the spread of certain viruses, the rotavirus vaccine is the best way to effectively control the transmission of this disease. This disease is very contagious and is spread through the fecal-oral route, meaning that if a child has fecal matter on their hands, they can touch their mouths and many other objects, therefore spreading the disease to others. Rotavirus causes inflammation of the intestines and stomach, which leads to severe diarrhea in extreme cases. This is especially dangerous for young children because it can lead to serious dehydration. In today's video, I talked about these 5 different vaccines. This list is just showing you what type of vaccine each of them are. Something that is important to note here is that the influenza vaccine has 3 different types: the live attenuated, inactivated, and subunit. I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something new. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on the World of Vaccines.